Far more often than we would like, we're faced with industrial incidents that result in the release of hazardous materials. It can be devastating when highly toxic chemicals enter the groundwater and our waterways, posing a real threat to the environment and our health. But did you ever consider the impact we have as householders? Many of the everyday products we use in and around the home are hazardous, from cleaning chemicals to lubricating oils and paint. And often, when we're finished with them, we simply add the containers and the residue to our rubbish, where it ends up in landfill. Each year in our region, more than 100,000 tonnes of household waste is collected from our homes and taken to landfill sites. If even just 1% of this waste is hazardous, it means that we are jointly responsible for releasing 1,000 tonnes of dangerous chemicals into our environment. Many hazardous products can be replaced with safe and effective non-hazardous alternatives. And by being more aware of hazardous materials and how they interact with the environment around us, you can make better decisions on disposal and recycling. There are 4 major classifications for hazardous materials. Common hazardous household products include paints and solvents, pesticides, cleaning fluids, mercury-containing wastes like fluorescent globes and lighting tubes, automotive waste such as used motor oil, degreaser, lead-acid batteries and tyres, electronic devices including computers, televisions and mobile phones. Around your house, workshop and garden, you might be surprised by just how many hazardous products you've collected. And because some of them may not be used all that often, it's worthwhile checking to make sure that their containers are safe and clearly labelled. Most paints contain solvents and metals that are hazardous to the environment. It's important that paints in liquid form do not go to landfill or be dumped in household and street drains or onto the ground. If you have paint that you can't use, it could be a useful resource for someone else. Maybe you can give the paint to friends, relatives, or charitable or theatrical groups. This makes great sense environmentally, as it keeps it out of the waste stream. Small amounts of water-based paint can be dried out in the can by leaving the lid off, or mixed with sand, sawdust or kitty litter. The residue can then be put in with your general waste, although you should be aware that as this will end up in landfill, it's a last resort. Oil-based paints are flammable and must be disposed of correctly, certainly not down the drain, onto the ground or in the bin with your everyday waste. If you can't store it for later use, try to find someone else who can use it. Or take it to the Hopkinson Road landfill facility in Armidale or the Gordon Road Waste Management Centre in Mandurah. The best way to stop dangerous chemicals ending up in our environment is to not use them in the first place. It's always worthwhile looking for non-toxic ways to control pests around your home and garden. As well as being better for the environment, it also reduces the risk of poisoning for your children and your pets. Rinse and either crush, puncture or break empty chemical containers so they can't be reused. They can then be securely wrapped in paper and deposited in your general waste bin. If you do have garden or other domestic pesticides that you no longer want to use, it's important that you dispose of them correctly. And passing them on to a neighbour is not the solution. That's simply giving the problem to someone else. With incandescent light globes being phased out of use and replaced with compact fluorescent light globes, it's important that you know the correct disposal methods for the different types you may have around your home or workplace. Compact fluorescent globes are 100% recyclable. Because they contain small amounts of mercury, which is hazardous to people and wildlife, treat them as hazardous waste. Unbroken CFLs or large fluorescent tubes can be dropped off for safe recycling at the Armidale Landfill and Recycling Facility or the Mandurah Waste Management Centre. If you break one, put on a dust mask and gloves, sweep up the fragments and put them in a bag. Then wipe the area with a damp paper towel to remove any residue. Add the towel to the bag and put it in your general waste bin. With one of the world's highest per capita use of motor vehicles, it's easy to understand that we generate a great deal of related waste products, like oil, batteries and tyres. 1 litre of used oil can contaminate up to 1 million litres of water, so it's vital that we don't leave used oil sitting around in containers that will eventually leak their contents. Tyres take up a lot of space in landfill, and when they're left laying around, they attract mosquitoes and can result in devastating fires. When you purchase new tyres, always take up the option of the supplier keeping your old ones. Generally, this is a free service, but even if they make a small charge, it's far better than taking them home. Some suppliers will even take old tyres that you've had stored in your yard, or for a small fee, you can take them to the Gordon Road Waste Management Centre in Mandurah. Lead acid or wet cell batteries, like those used in cars and trucks, contain toxic metals and corrosive lead-contaminated acids. Leaving unwanted batteries laying around your property or sending them to landfill can result in the release of harmful materials into the environment. When you replace a battery, make sure that the supplier keeps the old one for recycling. The dry cell batteries that are used to power electronic devices like torches, cameras, toys and mobile phones make up about 80% of all batteries used. In fact, it's estimated that we throw out 20 million of them every year, with the majority going to landfill, where they can leach harmful metals and chemicals into the ground. There are a number of types of dry cells, and generally they are almost 100% recyclable. While some are more hazardous than others, it's best to treat them all as hazardous waste and keep them out of both your recycling and general waste bins. When you've collected up a few, take them along to a hazardous waste collection point for processing, so that they don't end up as another source of pollution. Electronic waste, or e-waste, includes CRT monitors, computers, TVs, laptops, mobile phones, printers and computer peripherals such as keyboards. It's possible to recycle up to 98% by weight of a computer's parts. Recycling is the only solution for the disposal of your obsolete or surplus electronic waste. Some councils will collect e-waste from the verge, so you can hang on to it until your next verge collection. Or alternatively, take it to one of the Rivers Regional Council's drop-off facilities in Armidale or Mandurah. Try using non-hazardous alternatives. Some leftover products can be passed on to other people who can make use of them. Always follow the correct disposal methods for household hazardous waste. And whenever you're unsure about the best way to deal with your waste, contact your local authority for advice. If you'd like more information to help you play your part in protecting your family and the community from the effects of household hazardous waste, the WasteNet website is a great resource, where you can find out about how to deal with other types of hazardous products like flares, fire extinguishers and asbestos. By minimising the amount of household hazardous waste you create, you're playing a major part in reducing our impact on the environment.